Yeah, I often describe ourselves much like a multifamily office. So instead of investing these people's money, we spend it for them. Sounds a bit cheesy, but you get one life, right? You get one shot at life. But there's a sweet spot where they've made their money, they're healthy, and they want to spend it, and they want to enjoy life. And that's where we step in. So we cater to not only the world's wealthiest people, but the world's most adventurous, thrill-seeking, life-loving individuals. Our job is to create experiences for them or get them access to things they simply can't get themselves. We always say that we're 2 phone calls away from sorting anything anywhere in the world, and I think that's absolutely true. We've taken families to the Galapagos to search for new species with a National Geographic photographer. We take families to Finnish Lapland to see Santa in his natural habitat, and you can do some incredible stuff up there. Treasure hunt through the Caribbean on a super yacht. The options are endless, but actually the real luxury and the real value, I think, in years to come will be that's created by human beings. And that's what we're really kind of focused on.
Hi, everyone. This is Dan Harris, and welcome to the Iron Bird podcast. On today's podcast, we have Simon Blackford. He's the co-founder of Ellidore. He's the world's most trusted luxury lifestyle membership service. Simon, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. For maybe people that don't know what a trusted luxury lifestyle membership service is, will you give us a brief overview of what the company is, and then we'll kind of get into the origin story of how it started.
Well, thanks for having me, first of all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we are, as you said, a luxury lifestyle membership service. So we cater to not only the world's wealthiest people, but the world's most adventurous, thrill-seeking, life-loving individuals. Mm-hmm. So we don't really define our members by their level of wealth. They've all been hugely successful. A lot of them have run their own businesses, have multiple exits. A lot of them are self-made. But they've also, all of them pretty much taken a lot of risk in their business life, and that translates into their personal life. So a membership with us enables them to live life to the fullest, experience the things that they have always wanted to experience, get access to things that they've always wanted to access. And wherever they are in the world, they have us on call in order to do that.
You said you're almost like a family office, but you handle money a little bit differently, right?
Yeah, I often describe ourselves much like a multifamily office. So instead of investing these people's money, we spend it for them. But I think that's equally as important. You know, it sounds a bit cheesy, but you get one life, right? You get one shot at life. And also what's quite interesting, I think, is there's also that sweet spot in life for people when they've made their money. And obviously that time frame can differ somewhat, but there's a sweet spot where they've made their money, they're healthy, and they want to spend it, and they want to enjoy life. And that's where we step in.
Are you seeing that more now with maybe the newer money, where maybe previous generations were basically head down grind until you're 65 and then kind of start to enjoy it? Are you seeing that with your customers? Are you getting more that are across the spectrum, maybe younger entrepreneurs that are wealthy that are now doing more traveling and working?
For sure. I think the world's become a much smaller place anyway, so people are traveling a lot more. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're certainly seeing people that are making money quicker, but also people's willingness, ability, and sort of desire to travel. You know, everyone has Instagram. Everyone doom scrolls through Instagram, and people get pushed things they want to experience, right? So a lot of it is led by the member. They see things that they want to experience, and they come to us to do that. But certainly, you mentioned the phrase "new money." Yeah, I guess that's quite important. You know, a lot of our members are first generation wealthy, but they're all of a certain character. Mm-hmm. I think that's a much better way of describing who our members are, rather than their level of wealth. You know, you might have someone that's got 100 mil and someone that's got 10x that, and that's kind of irrelevant. It's more about their character. Do they have the propensity to spend that money? Do they want to experience life? Do they want to, you know, take a bit of risk and seek out those thrills? And that's who we look after. And
you've run Ellidore for 15 years now?
Yeah.
Through that span, how have you seen travel change? Is it people going to different destinations? Is it different types of travel? Like, how have you seen luxury travel change over those 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, our business has changed a lot over the 15 years. And you often, as you well know, change your business to meet the demands of your members or your clients. Travel often goes in cycles. You'll see, you know, one year it might be Japan that's all the rage. The next year it's St. Bart's. And we kind of obviously follow those trends. We like to think we set the trends too sometimes. Mm-hmm. We also take a deep dive into areas of travel that we think are super interesting. And, you know, one of them at the moment for us is not destination-based, but more theme-based. So kids travel, for example. We're doing a lot of effort and putting a lot of money behind creating experiences for families. Also, the second one is travel based around health and wellness too. I think that's pretty obvious for all to see. You only need to go onto Instagram now or LinkedIn and see that that's a big theme. So it's less about destinations necessarily, but more about themes.
What's luxury travel doing for families right now?
The kind of family travel space has exploded in the last few years. There's a lot of resorts that are family focused, but we really like to take it to the kind of nth degree. We've taken families to the Galapagos to search for new species with a National Geographic photographer. Year on year we do this. We take families to Finnish Lapland to see Santa in his natural habitat, and you can do some incredible stuff up there. A wonderful kids treasure hunt through the Caribbean on a super yacht, which is just spectacular. So the list, the options are endless. We've got a really cool one coming up actually for a client that's going to London, and their son is really, really keen on London Underground and the black cabs, and specifically the knowledge, which is the exam that all black cab drivers in London have to do. So they have to know how to get from A to B using their heads and nothing else. So and we've got a cabbie that's going to be taking one of the children on a magical sort of mystery tour of London and teaching him part of the knowledge. So obviously it's client-led a lot of the time, but what we try and do is spark that kind of sense of adventure in the parent's mind and then build something around that.
Travel is only one part of what Ellidore provides to its members. Like, what's the full spectrum of services that Ellidore provides?
So when you become a member of Ellidore, which I think sets us apart from our competition, you get a team of people that look after you. We're headquartered in London, but we have offices all over the world: London, Lisbon, Dubai, Hong Kong, Dallas, LA. But when you sign up as a member, you get a team of specialists that look after you. So you have a lifestyle manager that looks after your day-to-day, will help you with tickets and access, restaurant bookings, whatever you can come up with on a day-to-day basis. But it's also your kind of point of contact, right? Generally become pretty friendly with them, quite knowledgeable about each other. You then have a travel advisor who takes care of all your travel, jets, yachts, and these big kind of experiential trips that we just spoke about. An event manager to take care of any events. It might be a dinner party at home. It might be a 40th birthday party, a kid's birthday. And we also do a couple of multi-million-dollar weddings per year. And lastly, you have a personal shopper as well. And that individual's there to source luxury goods, to style you. Another area that we've taken a keen interest in and has exploded in our business over the last 18 months, I'd say, is the health and wellness and longevity sector. Put all that together, you have that kind of the full spectrum of services. I mean, that's not an exhaustive list of the stuff that we do, but the idea is whatever the member requests, they have a specialist coming back to them. Our job is to take that even further. We client profile our members a lot, so we get to know them as well as we possibly can, so we can predict what they want before they know it themselves. So we're really, really proactive in how we deal with them.
You're offering services across so many different things. How do you build the relationships with the providers that you're going to be providing these services to? Because obviously you're not doing everything yourself, right? You've got providers all over the world. What's your process like, and what are you doing to make sure, I know when I send someone to this travel guide in Zimbabwe versus I know when I'm working with this aviation provider, they're going to do the right thing. Like, how do you vet those, and what's that process look like?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, actually, because that's, I think, the big thing that goes unnoticed in a business like ours. Everyone talks about the clients and revenue, but actually, I think the real value in what we do and what we've built over the last 15 years, and it's taken 15 years, and it will continue to develop and evolve, is the supplier side. Suppliers, partners, individuals that help us around the world. And we've built this sort of spider web of trusted suppliers and fixers, let's say, globally, literally all over the world. So we always say that we're 2 phone calls away from sorting anything anywhere in the world. And I think that's absolutely true. If our advisor or supplier or fixer can't help us, then they'll know someone that they trust that can certainly help out. We've got to this point through multiple failures. I mean, that's just the only way of doing it, right?
Yeah.
And you build up trust. It's a bit like a relationship with a member or a client. It's the same with a supplier. You build that level of trust to the point where we're quite happy to hand the member directly over to them. And that's really important.
What's maybe a situation where you couldn't perform that you said, all right, I know I need to work better on here, and then now you've got that person in that place that okay, now I know going forward we'll never have this issue again? I
lived in Dubai for 6 years. It took me probably 4 years to find, it sounds really basic, and it might be a reflection on me, but it took me almost 4 years to settle on a supplier for luxury chauffeur-driven cars.
Wow.
Because every single time we were let down in some way or another.
Really?
the driver wouldn't know their way, or they were new to the Middle East and perhaps couldn't speak the language, or they smoked, or little things that to the general public don't really matter, but for us and for our members, they absolutely do. So often it can be through trial and error. But yeah, it's I think the single most important side of our business.
Almost 20 years ago, when the online booking platforms became really popular for travel and airlines, what they were saying was basically travel agencies were going to be destroyed. It didn't exactly happen, but like, what do you think happened in that space, and how did that change the way travel agents work, and how do you think the continued progression of new technology, more information out there, how is that going to change kind of travel in general?
At our level, we're really focused on our service always being human to human at the point of delivery. But there's so much that can assist us as the service providers to speed up that service, to be more accurate, to perhaps be more imaginative, and to reach more corners of the globe. I think it will have a huge impact at the lower levels. But I think at the top level, the trust element is so important, and the discretion. I think the client is probably always going to trust a human over the machine. Yeah. I used it the other day. I was in San Francisco and I had 3 hours to spare, and I asked ChatGPT to start me in A and finish at B and give me the best 3-hour walking tour of San Francisco, and it was brilliant.
Really?
So it's great. I mean, it can help you on a personal level, and it will help at a broader level. But I think at the top level for us, it'll always be human to human at the point of delivery. Some examples and reasons why, like clients will ask us, have you been to this hotel? And one of my travel advisors will have been to that hotel more than likely. They'll have eaten the food. They'll have slept in the beds. They'll have put their heads on the pillow. They'll have tried the swimming pool out. Do you know what I mean? So, and AI or machines can never tell you that really, or they might be able to give you a review online, but they can't tell you firsthand.
Well, I think reviews are only getting less valuable these days, because I think people are gaming the review system. For every great review, there's a terrible review, right? From a competitor or something like that.
Of course. I mean, but also, how many times have you switched on the series and it's got 97% of Rotten Tomatoes and it's terrible? Yeah.
For private aviation, we're kind of going through a similar 2005 travel issue. It's finally getting to the point where you can pretty reliably book an airplane on an app. But anything that's at all complicated, or if you want a higher level of service, or really if something goes wrong, what's going to happen then, it's not there. And I don't know if it'll ever be there. But, the way I see it, there's probably the people that are the bottom, 30 to 40% that would do one flight or just fly to Vegas, right, privately, or do a simple, or just, I go to Aspen once a year. I just stay in, the Little Nell or whatever the easy Aspen luxury. They'll probably then go to just doing it on their own. That's going to theoretically wipe out 30% of the industry, right? And I'm assuming it did probably something similar to the travel agency.
You're absolutely right in the sense that it's going to help, but it's also going to be a hindrance at some point. Yeah. But I think a lot of, let's term it AI. A lot of where it's going to be super helpful to a company like ours is in the back end, right? And perhaps a better term is machine learning. So the way it can predict what clients of ours will want to book and then help us hunt down things that they might want to experience that we perhaps haven't thought of is going to be incredible. So as a business, everything that we do and we implement, and we are obviously we've implemented a fair bit of this in the back end, and we continue to do that. We're raising money to do even more. Everything that we do has one goal in mind, and that is it going to provide a better service for our clients? This year and next year are the kind of defining years, I think, in this race, because we will get to a point where simple binary requests can be taken care of by AI, or they can be automated. And that'll be great. But the more complex, personalized requests will still need to be taken care of predominantly by a human being, or else managed by a human being, particularly when things go wrong. And let's face it, in the travel world, things always go wrong, often through no fault of our own. You guys know, jet might be delayed, or
just look at what happened in the Caribbean when they shut the airspace down.
Exactly.
Or bad weather when you can't get into the Aspen airport and you need to divert, and what that means.
I often think as well, in the luxury sector, and this is certainly up for debate, and I think you'll always find people that have a different opinion, but luxury, whether it's art or whether it's creating music or poetry or writing or movies, AI can do all of that already. But actually, the real luxury and the real value, I think, in years to come will be that's created by human beings. And that's what we're really kind of focused on. So we'll implement it where we see it, where it's going to help the business and benefit the service that we give to our clients.
I think you're going to see like 1-2 years, like everything will be dumped into AI. AI will do everything. Then people will realize, oh, it's not. I'd rather do these things kind of myself, and it'll settle somewhere in the middle. Where we see it is the same idea of how can we get in front of potential issues, right? So we're tracking an airplane, potentially 5 days before a flight. Oh, this airplane hasn't moved in 2 or 3 days. Boom, that's a red flag, right? Are you getting fixed? Things that like, they're not going to give you this information, but if you say, hey, this airplane hasn't moved in 3 days, is everything okay? Looking at weather patterns, like, all right, here's a storm that's coming in 3 days from now. All right, what's my plan B? We're going into Aspen. We're seeing potential low cloud cover. Now we need to go and book that backup rental car in Rifle, because if you divert last minute from Aspen to Rifle, you could be sitting in Rifle for 2 hours waiting for a car because everyone else booked the car services before you did, right? So it's like getting in front of all those potential issues and then just being able to communicate with clients better so they know what to expect. And I think for us, if a client, even in a negative situation, can say, oh, it's okay, Dan, you told me this may happen, I'm prepared, instead of being surprised. I think for us in private aviation, being surprised tends to be the worst thing that could ever happen to a customer.
Yeah, always. There are so many aspects of our business that we already automate, actually, but there's tons more that we can do and that people will never see. Stuff that's so labor intensive, the back end in from a finance perspective. We have a big logistics department because we send out lots of luxury items to people or we send things to people. But there is also a big part of our business which is manual, like a human being has to physically do it, which I think is understated in our world. Perhaps less so in yours, but certainly in ours. Particularly as we never know what the client's going to ask for. You guys probably know, what the client's going to ask for. For us, it can be a surprise every single day. Yeah, it's going to have a huge impact. We're excited to see where it goes.
What's one of your favorite things that you guys are using AI for right now?
I think the machine learning aspect. So it's probably better to exemplify it. So we bring each individual, so a lifestyle manager, let's say, will look after 10 to 15 individuals or families.
Wow, that's it, really?
But yeah, our members are all very active, and so that's quite a lot of people. Some are less active than others. And then, like I told you at the beginning, there's a team of people that look after family A, team of people that look after family B, and they'll be different. But they all get together once every so often to client profile. So it's a open-ended discussion. What's the client done recently? What did they enjoy? What didn't they enjoy? What do we think they're going to do in the next 3 months? Are there any events coming up that we think they might like? What trends, what themes are kind of around at the moment that'll fit their bill? But that's all very manual. That's labor intensive. It takes a lot of time. And also, we can only then research what we think might fit the bill for that individual, right? Whereas the machine can do all that for us. And it can be looking at everything always, all the time, and constantly telling us what we should be doing. So I think that's a really interesting aspect. And we think that can, from a scalability perspective, that can mean a lifestyle manager can go from, let's say, looking after 10 individuals to maybe 20 or 30 or 40, who knows? So I think that's a really interesting part of the business. And then we're doing some really interesting stuff with a product called Data Rails from a finance perspective. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah. How big is the business? How many employees do you have?
So we have, around the world, I believe 43 currently. Wow. But the majority of those are in the UK. And then we have satellite offices around the world. And
you're in LA?
Yeah.
Do you want to grow more people in Los Angeles?
The plan is more to grow the team across the US. So I live in LA. We have clients on the West Coast, but we have clients all over. We have a lot in New York, some in the Midwest, all over the US.
In an industry where people don't like to be told no, but I think it's sometimes the most important thing as an advisor, what are those situations where you're telling your advisors and people to tell your clients no?
I think saying no is the single most important thing sometimes. I remember once a personal shopper of ours was shopping with a client. She was buying a dress for her daughter's wedding, and she came out in the most expensive dress, which for us would be great if she bought it because the commission would be better, right? And the temptation is just to say, oh, that's the best one, go for it. But, she said no, and I think she ended up going for the cheapest one.
Really?
But, that little things like that build trust with someone, don't they? And trust is the biggest thing about our business. That's why we've been successful. That's why we've been going for the period of time we have, got the members that we have at the level that we have, is through trust and telling people not what they want to hear all the time. And that is a big part of our job. is that guidance aspect. Someone might say, I really want to stay in this hotel in this place. And think, okay, but have you thought about this place? Or what about that? And guiding them through what we think is better for them. And sometimes we do have to say no. Sometimes we can't get them into their favourite restaurant on the night that they want, at the time that they want. Sometimes we can't, get them into a hotel because it's fully booked. That's just the reality of life. But if you're honest with them, and more importantly, give them viable alternatives, that's the critical element, then, you're fine.
What are some of the toughest restaurant reservations to get right now?
It's about to happen in LA. Noma has just arrived, which will be very, very difficult. There are some restaurants as well that just don't like companies like ours.
Really?
Yeah. And just don't need us.
Yeah.
It's not a very well-known restaurant, but there's actually one in London called Hunan, which has got, I think, like 7 tables booked up for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Impossible. And then and a lot of restaurants, bigger restaurants, will just squeeze us in, or have a relationship with someone, or they have a number for companies like ours, and there's ways of getting in. And they're bigger, they can always squeeze a table in here or a table in there, or add 2 people onto a table of 4 to make it 6. But it's always the smaller places where they just can't fit you in.
There's the kind of the expensive trap where it's almost like you were talking about the dress, where the most expensive thing isn't always the best, right? What are the most common ways that you see, the luxury traveler maybe just go say, this is the most expensive, I want to do it, and maybe it's not the best. Are there any places that you see like, I know in this location in Japan, this is the most expensive hotel, but really like this is the one you should be at? That's
where we really come alive. And I think that's why people use us. And going back to your earlier question about suppliers, so we have a network of DMCs, destination management companies around the world that we use, and we use them as guides. So particularly if it's a country that's difficult to deal with, or from a language perspective, or is just complicated from a travel perspective, we rely on their knowledge, and that is our job. It's not. I think there has been a tendency for people to move away from the bigger kind of more established brands into perhaps barefoot luxury.
Yeah.
A lot of our members have stayed at every single 5-star hotel imaginable, have eaten at every Michelin-starred restaurant imaginable. And so our job is to kind of keep travel fresh for them. And sometimes that means taking them out of their comfort zone a little bit, perhaps suggesting something that they haven't tried before.
Yeah, because you can only go to so many Four Seasons, right? With more expansion into the U.S., with it being based in the U.K., what do you see as the difference between the maybe U.K. luxury traveler compared to maybe a U.S. luxury traveler?
Well, we have members from all over the world, and they're all very, very different.
Yeah.
Number one, I would say, actually, all of our American members are just the most polite people.
Well, that's great. It's good to hear.
Yeah. Americans are great to do travel for. Like they have a love for Europe.
For sure.
And being a European-based company, I know we're in the UK, but let's say it's really great. It's to help them, guide them through places. They're a really kind of not easy client to deal with, but pleasurable one.
What would you say was, might have wowed people 10 years ago, but now it's just kind of normal table stakes now?
Things go in cycles.
Yeah.
So I guess a good example is, for years ago, Ibiza was the place to go. Then it became Mykonos, and then people have moved on to other places now. It depends on the person. I think people go in cycles as well. They like to go somewhere for a couple of years, then move on to the next. Obviously, the big thing at the moment, which we don't actually do a great deal of, but the big thing is these sort of new luxury super yachts. Like the Four Seasons has got one, Aman's got one. Ritz-Carlton has one. And that's actually something that's quite popular from a US perspective too, which is interesting.
It's usually, there's 4 or 5 very popular yacht destinations that, I see people, Caribbean, Croatia, Greece, Italy.
Yeah, well, actually, we're doing something for an American client at the moment who wants to go to Italy this summer, and their immediate reaction was, we've got to go to the Amalfi.
Yeah.
And our immediate reaction was, don't go to Amalfi.
Really?
Yeah. They're going on an incredible trip to Puglia. Because the Amalfi actually, from the marketing images and the photos you see online, it is beautiful, it's great, but it's also really crowded.
Yeah.
And then that's key is offering up other alternatives. It's maybe somewhere they haven't heard of. Or, okay, you've been to Greece loads of times. Why don't you try Montenegro? Trying different places and making different suggestions. And that's actually something that's really important. The safari is a good example of this, actually. People come to us and say, I want to do this safari, I want to go to this lodge, or I want to do that. And you'd be like, but do you realise you're going to be with another 20 trucks in the safari, in the game reserve? Why don't you, if you do it with us, we'll take you to a private game reserve, and you can do it in real luxury.
Yeah. Where do you think travel is going? Like when we look at 2030, what has the luxury traveler, how has it changed over the next 5 years? Like, where do you think luxury travel is going to?
This is not just in travel, actually, but I think the whole wellness or traveling for wellness and kind of health reasons is going to be, it's already booming. But I think it's just going to continue and continue. And I think you've got the new young generation of wealth that are coming through that perhaps, they'll exchange Ibiza for a holistic retreat in Thailand or whatever.
Yeah.
I think
do
that's
the yoga retreat instead of the...
Totally, yeah. I think that and experimenting with different ways of doing that is going to be really interesting. And we already do a lot of that. I mean, in the last 18 months, it's seen an absolute explosion in that side of the business for us.
What does it take for you to remove a vendor from your preferred vendor list?
The trust element. I think the moment you lose, you feel you can't trust someone, then they're gone. And we don't say this proudly, but we're sometimes not the cheapest option, or definitely not the cheapest option, but we're sometimes more expensive perhaps than similar competition. But that's probably because we're using someone or a partner that we have used for a while and we trust and we know is the very, very best. And we know there's going to give our client the very, very best service. We rely on being really accurate and really creative for our clients, but also getting back to them really quickly. And I won't name countries, but you can go to certain countries in the world and just wait forever for an answer to come back. I'm sure you guys experience that too. And fees can be quite high there too. But that's super important. The moment you lose trust or you lose faith in someone, then it's all over.
What was the last time you can remember that happening?
We had something it was in one of the Scandinavian countries a while ago where we just waited weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for answers. And there's a great hotel in the UK, or it's deemed to be a great hotel in the UK, but the service is just terrible, and it just can't be deemed a great hotel if the service is terrible. They don't get back to your emails, they don't pick up the phone, they don't put a crib in the room when you've asked one for the clients. All these sorts of things. You just lose faith in them.
You've written about the romance of lingering, and you've kind of talked about that slow travel. What you want to kind of explain the idea behind the slow travel and why you think it's important to be where everyone wants everything instantly and next thing. Like, how do you look at slow travel as something you think might be important for the luxury traveler?
Yeah, and I think this actually feeds back into the health and wellness and kind of longevity aspect of travel as well. So it's so prevalent now that everyone wants everything quickly, and so many trips can involve so much travel. You get to a destination, you're there for a day, boom, you're off again. And actually what's really important is to go somewhere and stay somewhere and enjoy somewhere and have true relaxation. I think that again feeds back into the kind of healthy way of traveling. Everyone lives at 1,000,000 miles an hour anyway, right? Yeah. So why do you want to do that when you're on vacation?
Yeah, I tell my wife that all the time. She wants to adventure. I could sit at the beach for a week. What about your own travel? What are some of the places that you've recently traveled to? I mean, you have young children, so I know it's hard. But what are some of the places that you've recently been to that probably have stuck out for you? Like, hey, this is a fantastic place.
Well, I've actually been lucky to live in different parts of the world, and we lived in Dubai for 6 years, like I said. That was one of the great things about living in Dubai. And Dubai is a great place to live, is the places you can travel to really easily from there. So my wife and I got very, very deep into India, which is the most amazing country in the world.
Really?
Yeah. And we actually took our daughter for her first ever vacation there. She was 6 months old. We took her to Mumbai.
India scares me.
It scares some people, but it gives you so much back. It's the most vibrant. It's like a sensory overload, that place. Yeah. It's incredible. But we'd say in English, it's Marmite. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Where'd you stay?
We've actually been all over. One of the best things we've ever done is a tiger safari in one of the national parks there, which was amazing. You stay in these luxurious tents. I
have this clip on YouTube.
Right.
They're in India on an elephant.
Yeah.
And then you hear wrestling and people are yelling. Then all of a sudden this tiger jumps out and the guy's trying to whip the tiger. Is that what that was like?
Well, we saw we did see a tigress with her 2 cubs. It was actually involved a lot of bird watching because tigers are quite hard to see.
Yeah.
But this is actually one of the reasons, aside from an exciting place to grow a business in the US, but living somewhere new, it gives you an option, the opportunity to go and visit new places. Mexico City's top of our list to go and visit, and countries that we would just never go to from the UK or from Dubai, places like Hawaii or Puerto Rico or Costa Rica.
Cabo, have you been to Cabo yet?
Not yet.
Oh, that's an easy one from here.
Yeah.
That's a great one. When you're building a trip and you built this great structure for someone and they maybe can't disconnect or they're still working, like How does your team look at that as a fail? Like, oh, we haven't been able to really drive this disconnect home for the customer? Or like, how does your team, after someone's done a trip, like how are they judging success?
We actually use the kind of like military way of doing things a lot in our business. So we do a lot of debriefs. Every single trip is fully debriefed by the team that's operated on it. And also we will question the client as to what they liked, what they didn't like. Our members are very forthright with their, criticisms often and ways in which we could do better. You never get it absolutely right.
Yeah.
There are so many moving parts of a trip. Often you don't get a lot of it right. Most of it won't be perhaps down to us. It might be the hotel, or it might be the lodge, or it might be the jet, or whatever, or the experience, or the tour guide, or whatever. But the key thing is to kind of learn from every trip. And also, we might do a vacation for a client that's been with us for 3 months. You don't know someone after 3 months. So the vacation we do for them after 3 months compared to the vacation we do for them 3 years in is going to be wildly different. By the 3-year point, or hopefully before that, you can be slightly more daring with your suggestions as well, which makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
But that's the key thing, that you've got to learn, improve every single time.
For like a customer that just hires Ellidore, what's that onboarding look like for them? That's
critical. So we call it the golden month. So when someone joins as a member, that first month, we try and glean as much information from them as possible. I mean, that's hard because some members, you have to either be
they're usually extremely busy.
They are very, very busy.
Many executives, and
we have ways of doing that, and everyone's different. They can submit a digital form. We can meet them in person, which is ideal. We try and do that. Obviously, you can have Zoom calls or whatever. But the idea is to try and get as much information from them as possible. Often, you don't glean that information or all the information you need for quite a while. It does take time.
Yeah. At what point do you feel like you really know your customer?
I mean, it varies, but if you don't know them and their kind of patterns and their habits after year one, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
The one thing we're pretty good at, and I think it has happened organically as well, is our members are busy, but they're probably not still running that multi-billion-dollar business. They've not exited it maybe, but they're not hands-on day to day, so they perhaps do have a bit more time, and they are in that sweet spot that I talked about earlier of wanting to spend their money in ways with us. And so they can offer up more time. But the quicker you know them, the quicker you can provide a better service.
When you're selling things to people that can pretty much buy anything, how do you position the membership that is worth it for people?
Yeah, they can buy everything. But they can buy everything that they know how to buy or that is readily available to buy. There's a big thing at the moment about the new luxury is in the experience, which is true. Most of our members can buy whatever luxury good you can think of multiple times over. Watches, handbags, cars, houses, jets. Our job is to create experiences for them or get them access to things or put things in front of them that they simply can't get themselves or they might be able to get to a certain level, but not the level to which they actually want.
What's the service look like on a kind of random Tuesday that you're just sitting at home? What are members using the service for on a normal day-to-day basis?
Oh, it's so varied. I mean, we have such an eclectic membership base. They go from 21-year-old boys or girls up until 80-year-olds, So everyone's different. Obviously, everyone's different. Some members are really, really, really active. Some will wake up in the morning and say, what am I doing today? And others will just not get in touch until they know they want something. And it can be so varied. It can be, we had not long ago, someone lost their pet iguana in LA. We had to get a pet detective out, which I just didn't think existed. I thought it was just a movie. Yeah. It's a thing. Or it can be, just day-to-day stuff. Like someone needs their suit that we've had tailored for them dry cleaned, or they need a restaurant booking. Or it can be that request that we love when an absolute whopper comes in. You're like, all right, you really get your teeth into it.
What was the last big kind of whopper request that came in that you guys did a slam dunk on?
We've got one at the moment, actually, a client that likes to throw a massive, massive birthday party. So we're looking at, and this, I'm talking like things like taking over the Orient Express privately or taking over an island and having an amazing party and flying 100 mates in from all different corners of the world, like these sorts of things. When you get requests like that, and the budget's not limitless, but it's a good budget, that's when you bring the teams. I brought the team together the other day to kind of brainstorm this, and you could see their imaginations just going wild because nothing's off the table.
What are some like ideas that you guys came up with?
We have actually done the Orient Express before
That's
for a
cool.
client. Yeah. That's actually a really, really cool trip because it's a hark back to the past. It's amazing. We've got all sorts of ideas. There's an amazing ranch up in Nevada we're looking at as well, and the same down in Argentina. Iceland is a big destination, really popular one. So we might be doing something amazing over there. He's very fond of the UK and golf. So Scotland, golf, fishing, shooting, whiskey, all that sort of stuff. But with tons and tons of ideas. We're still very much in the idea stage.
What are some up and coming luxury destinations that are kind of starting to get popular over the next, just starting to get popular that you think may blow up over the next couple of years?
Montenegro is an interesting one. I touched on that earlier from a European perspective. It's a lesser known kind of country, has had heavy investment from the Middle East. It's got a beautiful port to rival that of sort of Saint-Tropez. Yeah. That's a really interesting destination. Panama.
Interesting.
One of my favorite resorts in the world is in Panama.
Really?
It's called Islas Secas. Yeah, it's on sort of 14 different islands on the archipelago. That's a really cool one, particularly for American clients because it's not too far away. One that's already kind of super popular but always kind of amazes people that it is the Antarctic. There's a great place down there called White Desert, and we also do some amazing like super yacht charters through the Antarctic. That's a really cool and quite unique destination that's just going to keep growing and growing. And particularly as more of these kind of luxury super yachts that are owned by hotel brands comes to market.
How often are you seeing like locations that, like Montenegro, right, that may not have been a luxury destination before, but has gotten investment and is kind of now turning its, tourism around, right? How does that, I'm assuming that takes a long time for these countries to do that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What are any other countries like that you've seen like 10 years ago weren't the safest, best place, but now starting to kind of turn that stuff around?
Well, two places that spring to mind, not that they weren't the safest, but are really coming to the fore. One's always been popular, but not perhaps mainstream, is Oman. We used to go there a lot when we lived in Dubai. It's an amazing country. It has a very, very different kind of development model to that of Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Qatar. It doesn't have any huge high-rise buildings, doesn't have any kind of big, audacious attractions like the others do, but it's just stunningly beautiful. A lot of luxury hotel brands are opening there currently. And the other big one, and probably obvious one, is Saudi. Some of the resorts and hotels that they're building there are amazing. They will rival the Maldives, and some of the scuba diving they've got off the northwest coast and the Red Sea is amazing. That as a destination is going to be huge in the next 5 to 10 years.
What do you think are some of the ways that luxury travelers ruin their vacations?
Travelers of all levels ruin destinations, don't they?
Yeah.
Have you been to Indonesia, been to like Bali and places like that? I mean, I went to Bali 15 years ago and it was beautiful. Certain parts of Bali now are just
destroyed.
Yeah. I mean, just so overrun with hotels and people and bars. And I mean, even I've been to Sri Lanka a lot. There's part of Sri Lanka on the kind of southwest coast, which used to be so sleepy and like surfer town, beautiful, is now becoming Bali. It's just, and that's just what happens. And then people move on to the next place. Investors
and everyone else kind of moves on.
Exactly.
And then,
money talks, right?
Yeah. What, for members of Ellidore, potential members, what do you think are the best fit of people that aren't a member, but where do you feel like you bring a member on, you like, oh, we can provide a ton of value for this member? Like what are those? I know everyone's using things for differently, but like when you see new members, you are like, right, great, we're going to provide so much value. This customer's going to be so happy.
Yeah. I've just brought one on actually, and I won't say who he is obviously, and it doesn't give it away by kind of describing him, but he's perfect because he's very successful. He actually does still run his business, but he also has other people that can run it, and he has enough time off. But he's got the desire and the imagination to know that he wants to do certain things. And his kids are young, but not dissimilar age to yours, but they're obviously going to be growing up. And they're starting to say, I want to do this, I want to do that. I think the reason he hasn't pulled the trigger on a lot of things he wants to do is just because he hasn't got the time, but we can save him that time. So we can do these things for him in the background to a level that he knows will excite him and his family, and also suggest things that he hasn't thought of. Loves going to sea sport around the world, wants to do amazing kids adventures. He's perfect, and him and his family are perfect because we can let our imaginations run wild for them. So and I think it's just people that perhaps they've always wanted to do it. They know they've wanted to do it, and they haven't found the right company or the right trusted advisor, to use that phrase, to kind of put their money with and pull the trigger on things.
For someone that's interested in becoming a member of Ellidore, what's the best way for someone to do that?
Most of our members are actually referred. So most of our members are, an existing member will say, you must meet my friend so-and-so, or they'll tell their buddy about us or whatever. That's the general route in. But anyone can apply to be a member. You can go to our social media, at Ellidore Luxury, or you can go onto our website. We try and keep it as simple and kind of painless process as possible. But often, not everyone does then become a member. Some people aren't right for us, or we're not right for them, or perhaps they are still running that business and they haven't got the time. So we don't take everyone on. We are careful with who joins.
When have you declined members?
We've declined members for the obvious reasons, right?
Just not good to work with.
Yeah. Or perhaps for other reasons that we're just not comfortable working with them. But it goes back to that honesty piece. I had a member last year that was looking to sign up and just couldn't see any ways in which she would have the time to use us, because she was running a multi-billion-dollar business, was working 16-hour days, working all weekend. It wasn't right for now, but it'll be right in 5 years' time. It's not for everyone.
You built Ellidore over the last 15 years. Where do you see it in the next 5 years, you think? What's changed and how has the company evolved?
I mean, it's a completely different company now to when we set it up 15 years ago. It's the normal evolution of the business. I think we're going to be heavily skewed to the US in 5 years' time. That's the aim anyway. It's obviously a huge market.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be heavily skewed to the US. I expect us to have a much bigger presence in terms of team members in the US and a much healthier and more weighted kind of US membership base. Hopefully we continue our trajectory, and I really do. I think this is, not too much to say, but I really do think we kind of lead the way in what we do. There aren't many companies out there that have the breadth of services that we do at the level that we provide them.
Yeah.
And I hope we just build on that.
Awesome. Simon, thanks. I really appreciate you coming on. It's very interesting. We'll post all the details to get in touch with you, and hopefully when you get some new memberships, they actually are a good fit.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks.